Close your eyes for a moment. Imagine the absolute silence of the void. You are floating in a small, fragile capsule of glass and metal, hurtling through the endless night at thousands of miles an hour. The familiar warm blue glow of Earth is slowly slipping away, replaced by the towering, pale sphere of our closest celestial neighbor. But we are not here to look at the familiar face of the moon. We are heading into the shadows. The Artemis II mission is designed to take humanity further than we have been in decades, swinging around the moon and plunging into its hidden hemisphere. What lies in the eternal dark is a landscape that defies human comprehension. It is a place of breathtaking beauty, yet it holds a terrifying reality that few are prepared to understand. Today, we are going to travel to the far side of the moon. Let your breathing slow down. Let the noise of the world fade away. We are about to cross the threshold into the unknown, and what we find there will leave you forever changed. Since the dawn of humanity, we have looked up at the night sky and seen the exact same face of the moon. This cosmic illusion is due to a phenomenon called tidal locking. The moon's rotation on its axis takes exactly the same amount of time as its orbit around the Earth. Because of this gravitational dance, one side is forever hidden from our eyes. For millennia, this hidden hemisphere was a blank canvas for human fears and wild imagination. It wasn't until 1959 that the Soviet Lunar 3 probe finally captured grainy, ghostly images of the far side, revealing a strange, battered world that looked nothing like the smooth, dark plains of the near side. Later, the Apollo astronauts flew over it, experiencing the profound isolation of being cut off from all human contact. Now the Artemis program aims to return humans to this terrifyingly beautiful frontier. To understand what Artemis II is destined to see, we must strip away the myths and confront the raw, unforgiving reality of deep space. It is a place untouched by the soothing light of Earth, a chaotic wilderness of craters and ancient cosmic violence. Let us trace the path of the astronauts and see the terrifying majesty of the dark side through their eyes. Crossing the Terminator line. Imagine the exact moment when the spacecraft leaves the sunlight behind. The Terminator line is the boundary between day and night on the lunar surface. As you cross this invisible threshold, the brilliant, blinding glare of the sun is abruptly severed. You are plunged into a darkness so profound it feels physical. The human eye struggles to adjust. This isn't the gentle dark of a quiet earthly night. This is the absolute pitch black of the cosmic void. Picture the shadow swallowing the spacecraft inch by inch. The sudden absence of light is terrifying, a stark reminder of how reliant we are on our home star. Out here, darkness is not just the absence of light, it is a heavy, silent presence. The illusion of the dark side. Before we journey deeper, let us clear away a common myth. We call it the dark side of the moon, but this is a poetic misconception. The far side receives just as much sunlight as the side we see. It is only dark, to our knowledge, forever turned away from human eyes. But as Artemis II glides behind the lunar sphere during a new moon phase on Earth, the far side is bathed in harsh, unfiltered solar radiation. However, when the spacecraft enters the true shadow, the dark is absolute. Imagine standing in a desert at midnight, but take away the atmosphere, take away the scattered light, take away everything. The contrast between the blinding sun and the absolute black is sharp enough to cut. The severing of ties. As the spacecraft slips behind the massive bulk of the moon, something terrifying happens. The radio static crackles and then sudden, absolute silence. Mission control in Houston disappears. The voices of humanity are cut off by thousands of miles of solid lunar rock. You are entirely alone. Imagine the psychological weight of that silence. Every human being who has ever lived, every memory, every triumph, and every tragedy is on the other side of that rock. For those suspended in the capsule, they are the most isolated living beings in the history of the universe. This enforced solitude is a chilling reminder of our fragile existence in the cosmos. The first glimpse of the wilderness. As your eyes slowly adapt to the starlight, the surface below begins to reveal itself. It is a shocking sight. Unlike the near side, which is smoothed by vast, dark plains called Maria, the far side is a chaotic, shattered wasteland. It is heavily cratered, piled high with overlapping impact zones. Imagine looking down at a battlefield that has been bombed relentlessly for 4 billion years. The jagged mountains cast impossibly long, sharp shadows under the starlight. There is no softness here. Every inch of the terrain is a record of violent cosmic collisions, a terrifying testament to the brutal nature of the early solar system. The South Pole-Aitken basin. Your gaze is drawn to a massive depression, a scar so large it dominates the lower hemisphere. This is the South Pole-Aitken basin, one of the largest and oldest impact craters in the entire solar system. Picture a hole in the ground nearly 1,600 miles wide and 8 miles deep. If you stood in its center, the rim would be so far away it would be hidden beyond the horizon. It is a terrifying thought. An asteroid the size of a small moon smashed into this spot billions of years ago, nearly shattering the moon entirely. The sheer scale of this destruction is paralyzing to the human mind. The chill of the eternal shadow. In the depths of these massive craters, there are places the sun has never touched. These are the permanently shadowed regions. Here, the temperature drops to a staggering -414 degrees Fahrenheit. That is colder than the surface of Pluto. Imagine a cold so deep, so absolute, that it stops the very movement of atoms. If you were to step into these shadows without protection, you would freeze solid in an instant. The spacecraft sensors register this terrifying drop in thermal energy, reminding the crew that just a few miles away lies a lethal, freezing abyss. A canvas of alien starlight. Look away from the moon for a moment and look out into the cosmos, because the massive body of the moon is blocking the light and radio chatter of Earth. The stars reveal themselves in terrifying clarity. There is no atmospheric twinkling, no light pollution. The Milky Way stretches across the sky like a thick, glowing river of diamonds and cosmic dust. But there are too many stars. It is overwhelming. The sheer volume of celestial bodies creates a sense of vertigo. Imagine staring into an ocean of light, so deep and so vast that you feel yourself falling upward into it. It is beautiful, but entirely overwhelming. Myth-busting the alien structures. For decades, conspiracy theorists have claimed that the dark side hides alien bases, monolithic structures erected by ancient species. But the reality Artemis II captures is far more sobering and, in a way, more terrifying. There are no alien cities, there is only dead rock. The terror comes not from malevolent extraterrestrials, but from the absolute indifference of the universe. Imagine looking for a sign of life, a geometric shape, a faint light, and finding absolutely nothing. The silence of the geology speaks volumes. We are completely alone out here, surrounded by a universe that does not care if we exist. The Sea of Moscow and the rarity of Maria. As you glide over the rugged terrain, a rare patch of dark, smooth basalt appears. This is Mare Moscoviense, the Sea of Moscow. It is one of the very few volcanic plains on the far side. Why is the far side so different? Why does it lack the man-in-the-moon features? The crust here is much thicker than on the near side. Imagine the molten heart of the ancient moon trying to bleed through, but the rock is too thick, too stubborn. The magma could not escape. This geological asymmetry is a haunting mystery, a reminder that the moon is a warped, uneven world with secrets locked deep within its core. Ghostly reflections of ancient ice. Deep within the shadowed craters of the lunar poles, Artemis's sensors detect something vital. Water, but not water as we know it. This is ancient primordial ice, delivered by comets billions of years ago and preserved in the eternal dark. Imagine peering into a pitch-black crater and knowing that ancient frozen ghosts lie beneath the dust. It is a terrifying paradox. The very substance that gives us life is trapped in the most lethal, dead environment imaginable. This ice is the ultimate treasure for future explorers, yet it sits in a place that aggressively repels human survival. The sensation of falling. The spacecraft is in constant freefall around the moon. Inside the cabin there is no up, no down. When you look out the window at the battered far side, the lack of gravity messes with your mind. Imagine floating weightlessly while watching mountain peaks that look sharp enough to cut the glass. The cognitive dissonance is terrifying. Your brain tells you that you are about to crash into these ancient mountains, but physics carries you safely above them in a silent, endless glide. It is a waking dream, suspended between the terror of impact and the peace of orbit. The scars of the cosmic shield. As you observe the uncountable craters, a chilling realization sets in. The far side of the moon faces outward into the vastness of deep space. It is our planetary shield. For billions of years, it has absorbed the impacts of wandering asteroids and comets. Imagine the apocalyptic violence that created this terrain. Every crater is a bullet the Earth dodged. Looking at the far side is like looking at a battered armor plate. It is terrifying to realize how hostile the solar system is and how fragile our existence on Earth truly is. The moon took the hits so we could live. The color of the void. On Earth, we are used to vibrant colors, blues, greens, reds. But out here, the palette is brutally restricted. The terrain is a relentless sequence of grays, blinding whites, and absolute blacks. There is no color to soothe the eyes. Imagine being trapped in an endless, high-contrast monochrome photograph. The lack of color is psychologically draining. It reinforces the alien nature of the landscape. It is a dead world, stripped of the hues of life. The starkness is beautiful in its purity, but terrifying in its emptiness. The unseen threat of radiation. While the astronauts admire the view, invisible forces are at play. Beyond the protective magnetic bubble of Earth, the spacecraft is bathed in cosmic rays and solar radiation. Space is not truly empty. It is filled with high-energy particles traveling at near the speed of light. Imagine millions of invisible needles passing through the hull of the ship, through your body, every single second. The spacecraft offers protection, but the knowledge of this invisible, silent storm raging outside is deeply unsettling. It is a reminder that space is actively hostile to biology. The distortion of time. As the orbit carries you across the far side, time seems to stretch and distort. Without the rising and setting of the sun, without the hum of human activity, minutes feel like hours. The slow, majestic rotation of the moon below offers no sense of earthly time. Imagine watching a clock tick but feeling completely detached from its rhythm. You are experiencing the deep, geological time of the cosmos, where a million years is but a blink. It is a humbling and terrifying sensation, making a human lifespan feel insignificant, like a spark fading in the night. The magnetic anomalies. The moon has no global magnetic field, but it has strange, localized magnetic anomalies. The spacecraft passes over zones where ancient crustal magnetism creates invisible whirlwinds of force. Imagine looking down at swirling, bright patterns in the lunar dust called lunar swirls, created by these magnetic ghosts. They look like pale tattoos on the dark rock. They are beautiful, but they represent forces we still don't fully understand. It is as if the moon is harboring ancient, invisible machinery beneath its surface, silently manipulating the cosmic winds. The claustrophobia of infinity. You would think looking out into the vast universe would make you feel expansive, but for many, it triggers a profound claustrophobia. You are trapped inside a tiny metal box. Outside is infinite space. Imagine the terrifying pressure of the vacuum pushing against the thin walls of your sanctuary. One crack, one failure, and the void rushes in. The infinite space outside only serves to highlight how trapped you are inside. It is a psychological tightrope, balancing the awe of the infinite with the terror of confinement. A world without wind. Notice the edges of the craters. They are impossibly crisp. There is no wind, no water, no atmosphere to erode them. A footprint left here would last for millions of years. Imagine a world locked in a state of eternal preservation. It is a museum of death. The realization that nothing changes, nothing moves, is deeply unsettling. It is a static, frozen reality. The absolute stillness is terrifying, a stark contrast to the dynamic, ever-changing, breathing world we left behind. The sensation of being watched. Psychologists who study isolation have noted a phenomenon where people, in extreme, silent environments, feel a presence. In the absolute quiet of the far-side orbit, the mind plays tricks. The shadows stretch out like long fingers. The massive craters look like unblinking eyes staring back at you. Imagine floating in the silence and suddenly feeling the hair on your arms stand up, as if the dark side itself is observing you. It is just the mind trying to make sense of the sensory deprivation, but the terror it induces is very real. The gravity mascons. Hidden beneath the heavily cratered surface are mass concentrations or mascons. These are dense pockets of material that alter the moon's gravitational pull. As the spacecraft flies over them, its orbit is subtly tugged and warped. Imagine feeling an invisible hand gently pulling your ship closer to the jagged surface before letting go. These gravitational ghosts are remnants of massive impacts that melted the crust. They are invisible hazards, a reminder that even the gravity here is uneven, treacherous, and unpredictable. Myth-busting the hollow moon. Let us put another myth to rest. The idea that the moon is an empty, hollow sphere rings false against the data gathered. Seismic readings from past missions show it is solid, with a small core. But the idea of a hollow moon speaks to our deep-seated fear of the unknown. We want the moon to be a mystery we can solve, a spaceship, a construct. But the truth is scarier. It is a dead rock. Imagine accepting that there is no grand architect, no hidden machinery, just brutal, unfeeling physics and the slow decay of celestial bodies. The impossibility of rescue. As you glide further into the shadow, practical terror sets in. If something goes wrong right now, if an engine fails or life support stutters, there is no rescue. You are entirely beyond the reach of human hands. Imagine the cold sweat of realizing that your survival depends entirely on the machinery built by humans millions of miles away. The margin for error is absolute zero. This profound vulnerability is the true terror of deep space exploration. You are balancing on a knife edge over an endless abyss. The dust of the ancients. Look closely at the grey surface. It is covered in regolith, a fine powdery dust. But this isn't earth dirt. It is shattered glass and pulverized rock created by billions of years of meteorite impact. It is highly abrasive and clings to everything. Imagine a landscape covered in toxic, microscopic glass shards. If you were to bring it inside the ship, it would smell like spent gunpowder. It is a harsh, aggressive environment down to the microscopic level, aggressively hostile to human life and our fragile technology. The weight of human ambition. Floating in the dark, looking at the desolate landscape, one must wonder, why are we here? The sheer effort, the danger, the terrifying environment. Imagine the weight of human curiosity pushing us out of our safe cradle into this hostile dark. It is both beautiful and terrifying to realize that our drive to explore is stronger than our instinct for safety. We willingly hurl ourselves into the void because the unknown calls to us. The dark side of the moon is a mirror reflecting our own relentless ambition. The symphony of the ship. In the absence of sound from outside, the noises inside the spacecraft become magnified. The hum of the environmental control system, the clicking of relays, the sound of your own heartbeat. Imagine lying in the dark, listening to the mechanical heartbeat of the ship that is keeping you alive. It becomes a hypnotic, terrifying symphony. Every new sound is a potential warning. You become hyper-aware of the fragile bubble of life you inhabit, entirely surrounded by the lethal silence of the cosmos. The edge of the light. Finally, the trajectory begins to bring the spacecraft toward the opposite terminator line. The end of the far side is approaching, but the transition is not instant. Imagine seeing a faint, ghostly glow on the jagged peaks ahead. The sun is preparing to breach the horizon. The anticipation is agonizing. After the sensory deprivation, the deep cold, and the psychological isolation, the promise of light is overwhelming. It is the feeling of waking up from a deep, terrifying dream, waiting for the dawn. The blinding dawn. Suddenly the sun crests the lunar horizon. There is no atmosphere to scatter the light, no dawn colors, just an instant, brutal transition from pitch black to blinding, brilliant white. Imagine someone turning on a massive spotlight directly into your eyes. The shadows snap back into sharp relief. The terror of the dark is instantly replaced by the terrifying intensity of unfiltered solar power. The spacecraft's thermal systems kick in as the exterior temperature swings hundreds of degrees in minutes. You have survived the night. The return of the voices. As the spacecraft clears the edge of the moon, a soft crackle fills the headsets. It is the sound of static, and then a human voice. Houston. Imagine the profound relief washing over you. The tether to humanity has been re-established. The crushing isolation is broken. Hearing a simple technical update from Earth feels like the most beautiful poetry ever spoken. You are no longer alone in the void. The terrifying silence of the far side is left behind. The Earthrise, and then the most magnificent sight in the universe appears. Rising above the desolate, grey, battered horizon of the moon is a brilliant marble of blue and white. The Earth. Imagine seeing all of human history, everyone you love, all the oceans and forests contained in a fragile sphere suspended in the endless black. After the terrors of the dark side, the Earth looks impossibly vibrant, like a living, breathing entity. It brings tears to the eyes. It is the ultimate reward for braving the dark. The lingering memory. The spacecraft accelerates, heading home. But the memory of the dark side remains. You have seen the untouched, violent past of the solar system. You have experienced absolute isolation. Imagine closing your eyes and still seeing the jagged peaks and pitch-black craters of the far side. It changes you. You realize that the universe is overwhelmingly dark, cold, and indifferent. But that realization only makes the warm, fragile light of Earth infinitely more precious. The terror of the far side gives birth to a profound gratitude for our home. As we journey back to the safety of our blue planet, the terrifying majesty of the moon's dark side slowly fades into the distance, becoming a memory etched in starlight. We have crossed the threshold of the unknown, faced the absolute silence of the cosmic void, and witnessed the ancient, scarred armor that protects our world. The things Artemis II will see are not monsters or alien cities, but the raw, unfiltered truth of a brutal and beautiful universe. It is a reminder of how small we are, yet how incredibly brave our species is to venture into the dark. Thank you for joining us on this hypnotic journey into deep space. If you found peace or awe in the shadows of the lunar far side, please like this video, subscribe to our channel, and let the cosmos wash over you. Now tell us, if you were offered a seat on a spacecraft to see the dark side of the moon with your own eyes, would you have the courage to go?